Welcome to East by West Farms. Here we grow what we eat and we eat what we grow. Today I'm going to show you how I pickle the sweet potato leaves. We are officially in the fall. The sweet potato start to bloom, so that means that they're going to start to phase out. Now it's a good time to harvest the leaves and ferment them. We made a video about how to harvest sweet potato leaves and cook with them. That video actually is one of our most popular videos. Most of you probably already know that you can eat the leaves. Maybe not many people will know that you can actually pickle them and use them for as kind of soy sauce for cooking. I harvest these 2 buckets of sweet potato leaves just from the vines that are crawled into the walkway. The first thing I need is, of course, process the leaves. I have the leaf, the petiole, and also the stem. And all I need is kind of break this out. You could ferment just like this, but I like to separate, just have the leaves, and then I have the petiole for cooking. And when I come to the end of it, these are pretty soft, so I can just take that. That one shouldn't go in there. And of course, if the petiole is short, then you can just keep it together with the leaf without separating them. This is the only part that I will not use for us, but we can actually chop it up for the chicken because it actually have quite a lot of nutrition and starch in it, and the chicken love it. It took me a little while to separate the leaves from the petiole. I end up with a big pile of petiole that I can probably use half of for cooking for dinner tonight. For the leaves, I need to wash it and then mix with salt to ferment it. All right. And so for the stem over here, we could chop it up to feed to the chicken, but this time I'm actually going to bury it in the new garden area. If I bury them, it's going to grow roots, and depends on when we get to the first frost, it may get some leaves. But the idea is to have them set roots in the fall. If we don't get very cold, they will actually survive the winter if I mulch them well. In spring, they will leaf out and cover the new garden area. So it will condition the soil for me next year. Then we have endless supplies of sweet potato leaves for us. The next step is wash this, and it was a little bit muddy because we had some rain yesterday. Ideally, I should harvest when it's dry, so it's, the leaves are clean, but just take some extra wash. So you want to let it soak a little bit so that the mud fell off to sink down, and then you pick it up. This. Usually I pick the leaves out when I see like a yellow leaf like this. I usually pick it out when I was sorting through it, but since I missed this one, so I pick it out. So for the first wash, you can see that the water is pretty dirty. They definitely need a second wash or even a third wash. You want to make sure all the dirt and all that stuff, debris, come off the leaves. So ideally, I want to have a deeper bowl, and usually I wash it in a sink, but I couldn't find the stopper, so I used this bowl. It's a little bit shallow, but that still works. I have washed the sweet potato leaves twice, and they're clean, and then leave it out to dry for about 2 hours so that, just have the water dries out. What I need to do next is to mix the sweet potato leaves with sea salt, and then put it in this Chinese pickling jar, and let it sit for maybe 2 weeks, and then it's ready. How pickling works is you want to create a kind of seal so that the bacteria can operate in anaerobic condition. This Chinese pickling jar essentially just have a water lock to create the aerobic condition. It has 2 covers, so you put the vegetable, the pickle stuff, and with salt in there, and then you cover it with this inner cover, and then you put the outer cover on. Then you fill up the rim with water. So this way, the water essentially just create a water seal, so no air can get in there, and then inside the jar, then that's where the fermentation happens. If you don't have a Chinese pickling jar, a mason jar will also work. Today I'm going to experiment a little bit to mix the sweet potato leaves with salt and add some lemongrass and see if I can make it more flavorful. I'm going to make a small batch with that, so I'm going to use a mason jar since it's probably everybody has that and not everybody has the pickling jar. You put the dried, somewhat dried sweet potato leaves in a big bowl, and then you sprinkle some sea salt. You have to see how much you put it in there, because if you put too much, it will be too salty, and if it's not enough, it might get rotten. You just need a dough until they're kind of withered. So mix it with the salt really well. And that's what it look like. For the lemongrass, I just use the lower part because top part might be too hard. So basically, if I can cut it easily, that's my test. And I just cut into small rings. It smells so good. It smells like fresh ginger. All right, just sprinkle this in there. See if you have other spices like basil or shiso, you can, or garlic, if you want it, you can all put it in there, just add a little bit flavor. Then you stuff it in the masonry jar. And then make sure that when you do that, you kind of have the salt get in there, get mixed in. So you can see how fast it's collapsed. I have a big bowl, and that get collapsed into a tiny half of the masonry jar. So I need to make a little bit more. This is my second batch, the same operation. A little bit more. You will need a lot of sweet potato leaves to fill up one masonry jar. So you want to pack it really tight so that not much air in there, because you want to be almost aerobic condition. Okay, that's good enough. The next step is I need to seal it. So you could use a cover for that and make it really tight. I can use a plastic bag and then just use some rubber band to really tight, make sure, whoops, that's the old rubber band that it's broke. So just make sure it's the rubber band. Oops. So use a few to make it really tight. And you have trouble making the rubber band. Okay. And that will give you a very tight seal. Of course, you want to make sure your plastic bag doesn't have holes or anything like that. I got my 1 jar of my pickled sweet potato leaves. Don't get alarmed when after probably a few days it will become completely dark, and so you leave it in room temperature for probably 2 weeks. When you open it, you can smell that kind of soy sauce smell. That means the fermentation is done. And then you can either put this in a Ziploc bag or a container in your freezer, or you can start to use it. What I do is let it sit in the counter for 2 weeks, and then I leave it in the refrigerator for another month. So it's actually the cooler temperature have a slow fermentation to make the taste more profound in a way, and then you can start cook with it. If you don't want to cook it right away, if you have more than enough, then you can store it in the freezer. In this video, I showed you how I pickle sweet potato leaves. The process is pretty simple, and you only need 2 ingredients, sweet potato leaves and some sea salt. You can use a pickling jar for it, or you can use a mason jar. What you end up with is kind of something tastes like a soy sauce on steroids. If you are gardening in Texas, you probably have a lot of sweet potato leaves around this time. Give it a try and see how you like it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave down below. If you have not done so, please hit the subscribe button to follow our journey with the East by West Farms.